question?
Please.
So sometimes I see glowing orbs, like it looks almost like a sparkle. Am I seeing angels? Am I somewhat spiritually gifted in a way?
Yes, my dear, that is called being clairvoyant. So we will tell you that there are always beautiful beings of light around you, my dear. You have one that is your guardian angel. And with a gift such as this, the more attention you give to the gift, the more you acknowledge those beings. When you see them, the more of them you will attract. My dear, have you ever seen one of those lights? Sometimes people hang them on their back porch and the bugs are attracted to it.
Yes.
So this is how you may be, you see. You see, as the light, as you acknowledge the light in you, in yourself, and you acknowledge, oh, I can see these beings. The more you assent to that and give it your affirmation and your agreement, the more of these beings you will attract. Like a candle or a light on your back porch. So there are some people, my dear, and this is a possibility for you if you so choose. There are people who have a whole entourage of beautiful angelic beings. And it's because they believe in these beings and they welcome them. We will give you an example. When this young woman was younger, a young mother, she had 3 children of her own, but the children in the neighborhood knew they were welcome there. So it was very common for her to have 5 or 6 or 7 children in her home in the evenings, eating her food and playing and just being there with her because they knew they were welcome, you see. And if she made dinner, she would most certainly share it with all of them. If she had enough, they were all welcome, you see. So this is the way it can be with you and these beautiful angelic beings. If you welcome them and acknowledge their presence and you love them and they know that they are at home with you, then more and more shall come. Do you like that idea?
Yes, I love it.
So let us tell you some more specific things you can look for. Okay? So yes, sometimes you may see a light, or you may feel a little breeze zip by your head or beside you. Or you might see a bit of a cloud, like a mist hanging in the room or over someone's head. For instance, this vessel used to sing at restaurants in the evenings to make a dime or two. And sometimes she would see a couple of lovebirds having a date and she would sing a love song. And then she would see a mist settle over their heads like a cloud. And she could see their faces soften with affection for one another. This was an angelic presence she was seeing. You may also just feel them. This is called clairsentience. You might feel them. You might, when someone comes in the room, have you ever had the feeling someone came in the room? Maybe they didn't say anything, but you just knew someone had entered, like that. Or you might actually feel a heat, just as you would if someone was sitting close to you and you felt the warmth of their body. Sometimes some of these are angels. Some of these are beings from other places, such as Rigel. You may call them angels. We tend to use this word. Sometimes when we use this word, it is absolutely accurate. Angels being divine beings created by God. Then there are other beings such as Arcturians or Pleiadians, or there are multitudes, myriads of these beings, and it is more accurate to say they are extra-dimensional beings, or some people call them ETs. We don't use that word a lot because some people are frightened because they've watched too much of the television telling them that they should be afraid of such beings, you see. And there are some malevolent beings out there, but my dear, with a pure heart such as you, we don't think they would like to hang out with you. It wouldn't be much fun for them, you see. So if you can have a childlike faith and trust that you are attracting beautiful beings full of love and light, and just rest in that, then you will continue to attract the good ones, you see. And if you sense them around and you're feeling courageous, you can just say thank you for being here. And if you'd like, you may speak to them. And most of the time when they speak to this vessel, it's just a thought. She just sort of feels like she knows a thing. That's all, you see. It can be that simple. It doesn't have to be weird or woo-woo or like this particular manifestation where we're actually using the vocal cords of the vessel. It doesn't have to be that. It can be just very simple that you feel and sense and know a thing. And that's every bit as valid as this channel. Any questions about that?
No, thank you.
You're so welcome.
I have a question that's related to that.
Please.
It seems like to me that these children and young adults are different in some way. They're more gifted.
Yes.
Has this happened more in the last 20 years than it did, say, 100 years ago? And the other thing is, it seems like that the teachers and the medical community just doesn't know what to do with them because it's because they don't understand.
Right.
And they're being miscategorized and sometimes given drugs and other things.
Yes. Yes. Well, we will tell you that in the case of this vessel, if she were to have been in the company of some professionals, not all, but some, they would probably have diagnosed her with dysphoria or PTSD and possibly schizophrenia and so on. And she would probably be heavily medicated at this point and very disconnected from her spiritual gift. And we consider this a spiritual crime and a travesty. But we will say this, there are many, many, many therapists, trained, skilled professionals who came into their business for the right reasons, out of love and compassion, and they are quickly getting up to speed. Some of them are. Some of them are really on a true spiritual quest. They realize that a lot of the things they've been taught and trained are not working. And they love their patients and care for them. And so they are looking for answers. And so there are some who are beginning to wake up and learn through some trial and error, and also through our assistance, that, wow, we have some young people here that have tremendous spiritual gifts, and they're being misdiagnosed and misdirected. And we're not sure how to help them, but we do want to create a space of acceptance and curiosity and exploration for them. And so this is something that, if it's important to you, you can pray for this. Pray for an army of trained and enlightened, wise counselors to help the young. So now we will answer your question by saying this. Within the next 2 to 3 generations, young people will drastically be different than the young people of this vessel's generation. And in 2 to 3 generations, the children that were born, it will be highly unusual or irregular to meet a child that does not see angels or channel or have open visions or hear voices of other beings. In other words, we are in the middle of a massive transition and change on this earth where young people are becoming more and more spiritually gifted and more spiritually empowered. And so us the old ones need to room and need to understand they don't know it all. And they need to let the young ones lead. And they need to learn from the young. It is a very we are angry. This is how we will say it. We are angered by the collective hive mind of parenting, where parents think they always know what's best for their children. And this just isn't so. Children come to the earth pure and innocent, and they are talked out of their purity and innocence primarily by their parents and secondarily by the culture. Now, there are some exceptions for that, and we give thanks for enlightened parents. We give our thanks for enlightened parents and give our support to them. And if you're not sure if you're an enlightened parent or not, a good place to begin moving in that direction is to look your children in the eye sometimes and say, I don't know, but I love you and we'll figure it out together. So in the next 2 to 3 generations, it will be very normal for children to see angels, hear angels, communicate with them, have spiritual gifts of every kind, remote viewing, extrasensory perception, this sort of thing. We will tell you about dear Edgar. Edgar here. I want to tell you a story about, if you haven't met me before, if you're young, you won't know who I am. That's okay. I'm an old codger. My name is Edgar Casey. Sometimes I show up through this vessel. So when I was a boy, I had lots of spiritual gifts. I was raised in a Christian home. I knew the Bible cover to cover. I was a spiritual seeker from the very beginning. Spirituality was very important to me, even though I was very young, and I had some difficulties, though. My father was a very legalistic and a strict man. I didn't like to do my homework very much, and I would get a sound beating if I didn't get it done, you see. So somehow, through the power of spirit, I knew that there was a shortcut to this. And so I used to take my school books and put them under my pillow at night. And when I would wake up in the morning, I would know the material. And this is the way I learned to get out of my father's beatings. And so I just wanted to share that little story with you there, because you see, I was one of those kids that had some gifts and my parents didn't quite understand it. But Source will be with you and you will figure it out. And trust your gut. That's what I would say. Trust your gut and follow your peace. Okay, so back to the Pleiadians. Speaking about these children, this is the thing that parents, we hope parents will understand, that children can be born as old souls. They might be older and smarter and wiser than you. Not always, but many times they are. And so what we ask of parents primarily is to provide for the physical needs of the child and create a safe and loving environment in which they may just be what they are. Just be what they are. And that they may explore and try on things without judgment or recrimination, or being told that they are wrong in some way. So for you dear young ones, when you struggle, and if you are just trying to figure it all out, rest and know a strong psychic or spiritual gifts, whatever you want to call them. Know that if the people in your life don't quite know how to help you, we do, and we will. And you may ask for our help, and we will give it liberally.